The blaring siren cut through the silence, sharp and jarring, the kind of noise that made everything in me go still. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Then, the voice came over the speaker, cold and mechanical, as if it had no concern for the people it was addressing. Emergency alert, leave Area 51 right now. All personnel evacuate immediately. I could feel the weight of those words. It wasn't just an alert, it was a command. But it didn't make sense. This place. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I whispered under my breath, this can't be happening. Not now. The transport doors slid open, and a rush of desert air hit me. The night was heavy, thick with something I couldn't place. The cold gripped my skin, but it wasn't the cold that made my body tense. It was the urgency, the sudden change in everything we'd prepared for. I could feel my heart beat harder now, my fingers tightening around the grip of my rifle. This wasn't how it was supposed to go down. We stepped out, boots hitting the ground in perfect sync. The base was just ahead, but something felt wrong from the start. It was too quiet. No sounds. No hum of machinery, no chatter in the hallways. Just emptiness, stretching across the cold concrete like a shadow that wouldn't leave. The air felt colder than it should have, and I knew we hadn't even gone inside yet. The distant lights cast strange, unsettling shapes across the compound. The silence was like a weight I couldn't shake. Something was off, and I could feel it pressing down on me, but I kept my thoughts in check. There was no room for doubt. Not now. I could hear Private Michael Cooper breathing a little faster than normal. He was nervous, I could tell. His wide eyes kept darting around, like he expected something to jump out at him from the dark. He was young, too young for this job, but he didn't say much when we got the call. He just followed orders. "Where is everyone?" "This place is a ghost town," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper, the words hanging in the air like he was trying to make sense of it all. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I took in the surroundings, eyes narrowing. The base, the silence, it was wrong. Every part of me wanted to question it, but I didn't. Not yet. "Stay focused," I said, my voice low, sharp. "We're here for a reason. Let's find out what that reason is." I watched him nod, but it was a quick, nervous gesture. He wasn't convinced, and neither was I. But the mission didn't care about our doubts. We had orders. We moved through the empty halls, our footsteps echoing off the walls. The eerie silence only grew the deeper we went. Every hallway was the same, empty, unmanned, with lights flickering above us like the place had been abandoned for years. But we knew better. This was Area 51, one of the most secretive military facilities in the world. There was no way they would leave it unguarded. But it felt like they had. No guards, no security. Just empty posts and walls that seemed to close in on us as we walked further. Something was wrong here, and the closer we got to the heart of the base, the more I felt it. We reached the entrance to Sublevel 6, the area we were told to focus on. The heavy steel doors slid open with little sound, but there was no time to prepare for what was ahead. The atmosphere had already shifted, and now it was like walking into a different world. Everything felt off, and the air felt thick with something we couldn't identify. It wasn't just the silence. It was the people. We walked down a narrow hallway, and I couldn't help but notice the guards. Their movements were fast, too fast. Normally, they'd stand at attention, their postures rigid. But now, they rushed to clear us through each checkpoint, their faces blank, their eyes avoiding ours. It was like they didn't even want to be here. There was no time to question it. We passed through a retina scan, then a fingerprint check. I didn't even hear the usual voice prompts as the system processed us. The whole thing felt rushed, mechanical, like they wanted to push us through as quickly as possible, without any thought or caution. I could feel Michael beside me, his footsteps faltering slightly. His hand shook as he swiped his card at the door. "This feels wrong," he muttered, looking around at the guards. "No one's acting normal." I didn't look at him, but I knew what he meant. I could feel it too, that unease crawling under my skin. But we had orders. And I was damn well going to follow them. "Just keep moving," I said quietly, my voice steady despite the knot tightening in my stomach. "Whatever's going on, we'll figure it out. We weren't here to question things. We were here to do a job. The rest could wait." But the further we went, the more the weight of the situation pressed on us. We passed through more security checkpoints, each one faster than the last. There were no questions, no explanations, just procedure after procedure, done in a rush. The tension was suffocating, and I had to remind myself to breathe. We were too far in now to turn back. Finally, we arrived at sublevel 6. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a sterile, clinical-looking lab. The walls were cold, the lights harsh and unforgiving. It was a place made for isolation, built for one thing, containment. At the center of the room stood the pedestal, the object we had come for, resting quietly under a low glow. I approached it slowly, taking in the smooth metal surface, the sleek, featureless design of the artifact. It didn't have markings. No insignia. Just a heavy, metallic presence that seemed to hum faintly with energy I couldn't quite place. It almost felt alive. "What exactly are we supposed to retrieve?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. I didn't expect an answer, but I was hoping for one. The weight of the situation had me questioning everything. What were we really dealing with here? Captain Jake Harlow didn't hesitate, his gaze still fixed ahead as he responded, "We retrieve the object. Don't ask questions. Just follow the protocol." His voice had a finality to it, and I could hear the strain beneath it. He didn't want to be here any more than I did. But there was nothing we could do. Not now. I stood in front of the pedestal, feeling a sudden shift in the air. The temperature dropped, just enough for me to notice the chill on my skin. The lights above us flickered once, then steadied. The hum in the room grew louder, and for a second, I thought I heard something, not quite a voice, but close enough to make me pause. I stepped forward, my hand hovering above the artifact, but I didn't touch it. Something wasn't right. I wasn't sure what it was it the temperature? The hum in the air? Or was it just the unsettling quiet that had taken over the entire room? But I couldn't stand there forever, questioning. I had a job to do. "We're here," I said under my breath, as I moved toward it. "And we're leaving with it." The moment my fingers made contact with the artifact, everything shifted. The room, which had felt heavy with uncertainty, suddenly felt suffocating. Before I could even process what happened, the entire facility was alive with noise. The blaring sound of an alarm erupted, filling the space, the kind of sound that dug deep into your bones and wouldn't let go. It wasn't just a drill. This was real. I had no time to think, no time to react. The doors slammed shut with a force that shook the whole room, sending a chill up my spine. A mechanical voice echoed through the intercoms, cold and devoid of any urgency or explanation. "Facility-wide lockdown initiated. All personnel must remain in position. No exits." I didn't even need to look at the others to know we were all thinking the same thing. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this. What the hell just happened? I found myself asking, though I already knew the answer. Panic surged in my chest, and my hands felt cold as I tried to steady myself. We need to get out of here, now. But Captain Jake Harlow didn't budge. His face remained as stoic as ever, his eyes sharp, focused. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it that I didn't quite trust. We're not going anywhere. Not yet. I looked at him, searching for some sign of reassurance, but found none. He was just as uncertain as the rest of us, and that realization hit harder than the alarm itself. We were stuck, trapped in a place we barely understood. The sirens only grew louder, reverberating through the walls, and the entire facility seemed to tremble under the weight of it. The sound was relentless. It felt like it was closing in on us. Every corner, every hallway. Every step we took felt like we were running out of time. I turned toward the doors, trying to figure out what had gone wrong. The team was already moving, all of us scrambling to find a way out, but the security doors were locked tight, their bolts reinforced. No way through. Panic set in quickly. The confusion was palpable. We moved from door to door, banging on them, checking the panels, trying to force a way out. Nothing worked. It wasn't just that we were trapped, it was the growing sense that something bigger was happening, something we couldn't stop. We need to figure out what's going on, I said, my voice growing strained. Every second that passed felt like it was adding more weight to the already suffocating air. But there was no response. No explanation. Nothing. Then, the voice came through the intercom again. This time, it wasn't just an alert. It was a command. And it sent a chill down my spine. Subject AX is awakening. All personnel are to remain at their posts. Containment failure imminent. I froze, my mind racing. Subject AX? The name sent a cold rush through my veins. We had been briefed on nothing like this. Nothing about a Subject AX. And suddenly, everything about this mission felt wrong. Captain Harlow turned to face us. The artifact. It's connected to Subject AX. His voice was grim. I could tell that he, too, had no idea what kind of monster we were dealing with. Not just some artifact, not just some object to collect. This was something else. Something far worse. What is it? Cooper's voice cracked. He was scared. I couldn't blame him. I was too. But I knew fear wouldn't get us out of here. We needed answers. We needed to understand. It's not an artifact, I said, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. It's a weapon. And as soon as the words left my mouth, I knew they were true. This was no ordinary mission. This was something we were never supposed to be part of. The whole base shook, a low vibration humming through the floor. The lights above us flickered, then went out completely. When they came back on, they were dim, casting a sickly light over the room. The walls seemed to vibrate in time with the hum that filled the air. I couldn't place it at first, but then I realized, there were sounds coming from deep within the facility. Whispers. A strange, hissing noise. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, echoing down the hallways. It didn't sound like anything I had ever heard before. I turned to Harlow, my voice barely above a whisper. What the hell is that? He didn't answer right away. His eyes flickered toward the sealed door to sublevel 6, the one we just passed through. His gaze hardened. Whatever it is, it's getting closer. We could feel it now. The walls seemed to press in on us, the sounds growing louder. The air around us thickened, as though it were alive, feeding on the fear that was spreading among us. Something was waking up. Something that should have stayed asleep. And now we were the ones caught in the middle of it. It was clear that the object we'd come for wasn't the only thing that had been sealed away for years. Subject AX was here, and it was stirring. And it wasn't going to be contained much longer. The pressure was mounting. The air felt thicker with every passing second, and the sound of the siren was growing louder in my ears, cutting through everything else. The lockdown was messing with our comms, our ability to navigate. We couldn't reach the higher levels, and there were no responses from security. The path we had taken was now nothing more than a labyrinth of dead ends and sealed doors. I kept my focus on the mission, pushing the fear to the back of my mind. But every corner we turned only seemed to lead to more barriers, more locked gates, more malfunctioning doors that refused to open. I could hear the faint hum of electronics in the background, but nothing worked the way it was supposed to. "We need to find that tunnel, now," I said urgently, glancing at Harlow. "Before it catches up." I didn't need to tell him twice. His face hardened, and without saying a word, he started moving again, pushing ahead. "Move. Don't stop for anything." His command cut through the panic that was starting to rise in all of us. We didn't have the luxury to hesitate. The team split up to cover more ground, each of us trying to find any possible exit. We ran through hallways, pounding our boots against the cold floor. Cooper and I went left, Harlow and Isaac took the right. As I raced through the darkened hallways, I could feel the oppressive weight of something just behind us. The air itself seemed to grow heavier, the lights flickering above, leaving us in moments of total darkness. The ground trembled slightly beneath our feet as the sounds of the entity grew louder. The slow, deliberate footsteps echoed in the distance, closer now. My breath came faster, but I kept pushing forward, knowing we didn't have time. The seconds were slipping away like sand through my fingers. Suddenly, the static over the comms gave way to a distorted hiss, the faintest whisper coming through. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I could feel it, right behind us. The footsteps were closer now, almost on top of us. The tunnel entrance was in sight, but we weren't alone. The sounds of the entity, its footsteps, had been replaced with a strange, unnatural mimicry. The low, raspy voice, was it Cooper's voice? I froze, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. "Rachel. Pierce, come back." I turned sharply to look at Cooper, who was beside me. His face was a mask of confusion and fear, but it was the voice that stopped me. The voice that had come from the darkness wasn't his. It was something else. Something worse. Something that had learned how to play with our heads. Cooper glanced at me, then at the dark corners of the tunnel. "It's imitating us. It knows everything about us now," he said, his voice tight with panic. I could hear it again, a perfect imitation of my voice, calling from behind us. "Come back, Rachel," I swallowed hard. We couldn't outrun it. That much was clear. Every step we took seemed to bring us closer to it. It was adapting, learning how to track us. And the more it mimicked us, the harder it was to trust our instincts. "We can't outrun it," I said sharply, my mind racing. "We have to outsmart it." I didn't know how. I didn't know if it was even possible. But there was no other choice. We moved cautiously now, our footsteps muffled in the narrow, dim tunnel. The lights overhead buzzed weakly, casting long shadows. The flicker of the lights added to the tension, making every moment feel like we were just one step away from being trapped. The disembodied voice called out again, this time with a different tone, calm, almost reassuring. It was trying to break us, to make us hesitate, to make us second-guess everything we heard and saw. The voice sounded like it was all around us, swirling in the cold air, pulling at our minds. I could see Isaac's eyes darting nervously as he tried to keep pace. "It's mimicking our voices. It's learning," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. I could feel the tension crackling in the air, suffocating. Every step we took forward felt like we were walking deeper into its trap. I gritted my teeth and tightened my grip on my weapon. We couldn't stop now. We had to reach the exit. We had to get out of this hellhole before it was too late. But the tunnel didn't seem to end. The wall stretched on, and every turn felt like it led us further into the unknown. The sound of the entity moving, now so close, was unmistakable. The clicking of its footsteps echoed behind us, drawing closer, closer. We were running out of time, running out of options. The sound of footsteps stopped. I turned. My breath caught in my throat. We were surrounded. It was already ahead of us, and the tunnel was too narrow to fight our way out. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing straight up. It had us. The reality hit me like a brick to the chest. There was no time for a slow build-up, no chance for us to deny it. I felt my breath catch in my throat as the words finally found their way to the surface. We weren't here to retrieve an artifact. That was the lie. We were never meant to come back from this. I was gasping, heart hammering in my chest, not out of fear of the entity anymore, but because I knew the truth. My voice broke as I finally spoke it aloud. This was all a setup. We were never supposed to leave. Captain Jake Harlow stood still for a moment, processing the weight of the words, and then, without skipping a beat, he turned to face the rest of us, eyes narrowing, cold with determination. "We'll make sure it doesn't get out. We end this now." The truth wasn't just something that sunk into my gut. It consumed me. This wasn't a mission to retrieve something, it was a test, and we were the subjects. We were nothing but bait for an experiment that went wrong, one designed to see how Subject AX would behave once exposed to human presence after decades of isolation. And now we were all caught in it. Behind us, the hum that had been distant was now deafening. It was closing in, growing louder, stronger. The air was vibrating, and I could hear the strange, distorted voices echoing off the walls. Then it appeared. The entity. It wasn't the same thing we had seen before. It was fully evolved now, its humanoid form shifting, its body flowing and changing in ways that shouldn't be possible. Its shape wasn't fixed. It moved like liquid, like something trying desperately to understand how to be human, and every time it took a step, it learned something new. It mimicked our voices, our movements, becoming us in ways we couldn't comprehend. I could hear it clearly now, its voice a mixture of ours, all at once. It spoke with Cooper's voice, Harlow's, mine, then shifted again. The sound wasn't just from behind, it was all around us. A million voices wrapped in one, sending chills down my spine. "Rachel. Pierce," it whispered, but it wasn't mine. It was learning how to destroy us. And it was damn good at it. The countdown clock flashed in the corner of my vision. Sterilization was in progress. We had minutes, maybe less, before everything in the base went up in flames. "We need to move, now," I shouted, my breath coming in quick, shallow bursts. It wasn't just the creature. It was the fire, the explosion that would end everything we had tried to stop. And there was no time left. Captain Harlow didn't hesitate. "If we don't make it, at least we'll stop it from escaping." His voice had a sharpness to it, as if he knew what was at stake. I wasn't sure we were going to make it, but I couldn't let the fear show. I couldn't give up. Not now. The blast door ahead was slowly closing. I could see it, just a sliver of light, and then the cold steel of the door coming down, sealing us inside. The creature was getting closer, and with it, that sense of dread that had clung to me since we first set foot in this damn place. The countdown clock was ticking down, louder now, its relentless ticking echoing in the back of my mind. We had seconds, not minutes. I turned to Isaac, still clutching his tablet like it was his only lifeline. "Any way out?" I demanded. He shook his head, sweat beading on his forehead. I can't override it," he stammered. "It's locked. We're stuck." I didn't think. I just ran. Straight for the door. I could hear the heavy thuds of the creature's movements, its footsteps now an almost rhythmic pattern, just behind us. My muscles burned, but I pushed harder. We were almost there. Almost to the opening, the one place that might still lead us to safety. The blast door was just ahead. I threw myself at it, slamming my shoulder against the cold metal. It didn't budge. "Help!" I screamed. The team was with me, Harlow right behind me, pushing with all the force we could muster. We didn't stop. We couldn't stop. Every second that ticked by was a reminder that we were running out of time. Finally, with a loud screech, the door moved, and I dove through just as the creature's shadow loomed behind us. We made it. Barely. We stumbled into the open corridor beyond, our breaths ragged, hearts still hammering, but the door slammed shut behind us with a heavy, final thud. We had done it. For now. But it wasn't over. We all stood there for a moment, the reality sinking in. We were out. But the thing we'd just escaped was still inside. The world outside would never know what happened here. Rachel Pierce, what's next? We don't know. But we can never let anyone forget what happened here.